Good evening. I'm hoping you'll watch this whole video because it's very important to all Americans and probably to people around the world because, well, if this happens, it's going to affect everyone, basically. I'm going to start with some history before I get into the what's going on. Now, our government does not want you to know this. It's out there and people are aware of it, but they're not spreading it around very much because it would create a world panic. And I'm serious. I really hope you listen to this whole video because it is going to affect everyone when it occurs. And it will. I'm going to tell you that right now. In 1914, when America created the Federal Reserve Bank, and the American dollar was in business at that time, but when it became the Federal Reserve Bank, the American dollar was recognized as what is known as a global currency. Now, a global currency basically means it's recognized all over the world. You could take an American dollar anywhere in the world and take it to any bank, and they would recognize it and exchange it for whatever currency was used in that country. American dollars have been the standard that most currencies are based against for about over 100 years now. I mean, like I said, basically since 1914. And for the most part, a lot of times there have been challenges to that. They want to uh, replace the American dollar with some other type of currency because it's a global thing. The person with the money is the recognized power in the world. So here we go. We're now in 2022, and because of the fact that American money is no longer based against gold, it's no longer based against silver. Our government just prints money like it's toilet paper. As a matter of fact, these days, if you look at it, toilet paper is probably worth more than the American dollar is. They're just printing it without any type of backing whatsoever. So, why is this important to you? Well, lately, five foreign countries, and those countries are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and all of South America, which Brazil is part of. But I guess all of South America has decided they want in on this, have gotten together and they're trying to put together a new global currency. Now, since they are becoming the more powerful countries in the world, if they get together and they decide to replace the American dollar with whatever currency they decide to put together, right now they use five different currencies, it will affect us because by replacing the American dollar, which is now uh, there's they say there's more American dollars outside of America than there actually are in America. Last I heard, we owe China like $3 billion, and they are holding that money in their bank in paper. Which at any time, if they decided they wanted to, they could call it in and ask for us to pay it in. Well, since we no longer have gold and silver, guess what the major commodity in America is? And if you guessed real estate, you would be correct. We have now given America away in bits and pieces to different countries um, for many, many, many decades. And it's probably true that we own less of America than we actually think we do. So you would have to check that. I'm just talking off the top of my head, but trust me, I'm pretty sure America is in big trouble at the moment, and we are not really doing anything to fix this. If you watch my last video about, the what's going on in America and the fact that our government has been paying themselves in big bucks using our money, you're probably uh, you're probably ahead of the game. So here we are. We're now sitting and waiting for them to decide if they want to replace American money as a global currency. And they're pretty close to coming to an agreement on that. Our government doesn't want you to know that, because if it occurs, paper money will become worth less than a penny on the dollar. Now, that should scare most people in America, because if that American dollar you're carrying around becomes worth a penny on the dollar or even less, which is a great possibility, you, I'll let you figure out what's going to happen. Um, and you may think that plastic is going to do you some good, but basically the plastic is covered by whatever you have in your American money, and it's just not going to happen. We're definitely in trouble. I'm going to say this, and I'll bet you if it works, if people are listening, it's going to be like the toilet paper thing that we had a couple of years back, where toilet paper disappeared out of all the grocery stores. Well, in this case, I would say you probably should go to the grocery store and you should pick up as much canned food as you possibly can, because what's going to happen is you're most likely going to need to be able to eat. And the only thing that's going to be, if we lose electricity, you're not going to be able to cook it, and you're not going to be able to refrigerate it. So the only thing that's going to be edible is anything that's in cans, unless you're growing stuff in your backyard, and not too many people are doing that these days. So if I see canned goods disappearing out of the stores, I'll know that this message probably got out there someplace. But I'm gonna, it's I'm not. I hope I'm not scaring people, but I think you should be somewhat afraid. Our government doesn't want you to know this. I'm gonna say that right now, because you're not hearing it on the news. You're not hearing it on any of your media sites. They're too busy worrying about Trump and worrying about Biden and worried about, all the other piddly stuff they're trying to get you to worry about. If you don't start worrying about, if you love your family, if you love your kids, if you love you know, I would suggest going out and getting canned food, something you can store in your house. And, you need a can opener, get a can opener. And, just please, pay attention, because if it may not seem like it's going to happen, they're not, like I said, they're not really saying anything about it on the news, but it's out there. And, people in other countries are aware of it. As a matter of fact, that's how I found out about it. I didn't even know what BRICS was until someone mentioned it to me, and then I Googled it, and sure enough, it's definitely out there. Google it yourself if you don't believe me. You know, if you don't think that, these five countries, the five people who are talking about doing this thing, are, they're mass producers over where they are. They're the GDP, the gross domestic products, whatever that, means. And if they decide that they no longer want to deal with American money because American money is becoming worthless, then trust me, it'll happen. I thought the euro dollar was going to replace the American dollar, and I think that was what the plan was, but the euro dollar didn't take off. The European dollars over there, somebody said, well, that's not what they call them, they're just called euros. And I found out there's actually a euro dollar where American money is being planted in different banks around the world because the federal government can't mess around with American money in foreign places. So that's why I said a lot of American money is no longer in America. That should be interesting. If that becomes worthless, also, there's going to be a lot of people crying because basically, whatever money is being stored outside America will also become toilet paper. It's going to affect everybody. I don't know how it's going to happen. I mean, let's face it. Anybody with a printing press these days can make money, and according to what they decide is going to be the standard, I would assume Russia's money would probably be, since Russia is a large country, I assume they have more paper money out there than the rest of them. But, all they have to do is decide that they want to have standardized one set of money. And basically, once that happens, if they decide to replace American money as a global currency, then basically American money will become worthless. If you don't think it can happen, look at Germany in 1931 when they decided that Deutschmark was no longer of value. People had to take wheelbarrows of money to the store to get food. So it's possible. It it has occurred. As a matter of fact, in recent history, if you don't even want to look at past history, look at Venezuela. They had paper money in the streets because it became worthless. So it's a possibility, and it is a real possibility because we're not just talking about Venezuela, we're talking about five major powers. America is only one, and the rate, and if you're not paying attention to how America is going right now, we're dropping like a rock. Ever since they decided that oil in America was not something they wanted to go after, we basically lost the main economy builder we had in America. You may not like Trump and you may want to put him down, but I tell you what, he had the right idea to keep America going with us creating our own energy sources. And Biden shutting that off has turned America into the problem we have today. Well, I don't know. I've presented my case. From here, it's up to you. I would suggest sharing this, just like I suggested sharing the other video, but this one is even more important because in the end, if you're not paying attention and the bottom falls out, and you go to the grocery store with your worthless money to try to buy food, um, you may find the National Guard guarding the store and not letting you in. So, it's anything's possible. The way things are going in America right now, I said once before in my other video, I said, it's not me, and I'm at the end of my life right at the moment, pretty much. It's going to be your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. They're the ones who are going to suffer in the end. So I presented my case. Thank you for listening. I hope you can spread this around and maybe let people know. Like I said, it's not being covered in the media as far as I know. I've never heard of BRICS before today, so that's quite scary considering it's something that you would think would be more out there just so people are aware and people can prepare. I mean, you guys all went out and emptied the stores of toilet paper when you thought you weren't going to get that. What's going to happen when you can't get food, my friends? Uh, like I said, we'll see. If the stores start emptying out, I'll figure my message got out there. Thanks so much. Talk to you later. Have a good one. I'm praying for everybody right now, my kids, everybody. It's scary out there.